It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Barton College Bulldogs head women's basketball coach, Coach Wendee Saintsing. How are you doing today?
Fine, thanks. I hope you are.
Doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college women's basketball?
Sure. When I first started thinking about a career in high school, my first thought was to be a nurse. And then I kept, investigating that, applied in a couple of places, and then really decided my mom really wanted me to be a nurse. I didn't really want to do that. So I decided that, I needed to follow my career choice. And went to High Point and, got into physical education and coaching and had opportunities there.
What was that like going to High Point and playing collegiate basketball for them?
It was actually my first year at High Point was the first year that they offer scholarships. So, we were, I was lucky with that. It was a great experience for me. We had really good teams throughout my time at High Point. I actually went to nationals both in volleyball and basketball my last 2 years there, and learned a lot through that experience.
What was that experience like being a dual athlete in volleyball and basketball?
It was challenging, but that was like what I really wanted to do. I was really interested in playing both sports and learning as much as I could at the college level in both sports, and it ended up being very good opportunities for me to be able to do that.
In your senior year, what was that experience like getting that opportunity to become an assistant coach?
The way that came about, my senior year, we got a new coach that year. Our coach, Jennifer Alley, went to Chapel Hill and became coach there. And we got Wanda Briley out of Wake Forest to come to High Point. And the athletic director there was always very helpful to me, always gave me advice, talked to me and things like that. So he really took me aside and really wanted me to step in with a new coach and offer her as much help as I could because, I knew the dealings of, day to day, what needed to be done during the basketball season, like transportation and lodging, food, all that stuff. So I was able to give up the sport as far as playing and stepped in and help the new coach. And it was probably the best thing that I ever decided on doing because it was a tremendous experience and I learned a lot from doing that. And that kind of prepared me as I went into a grad assistant and finally being a head coach myself.
What was that experience like getting to coach at your alma mater and coach the players that you played against?
That was kind of hard. It's kind of hard to step in, once you're a member of a team and then try to step in and, try to help coach your peers. It was challenging at times. But I guess the best thing about it is that, I knew the players, I knew how they acted, what they were doing, what they needed to do, what I could help with. So in one way it was good. In other ways it was challenging, but all in all, like I said, I'm really glad I got that opportunity to learn and grow and have that experience.
Following that experience, what was that experience like going to Appalachian and getting to become a grad assistant for Appalachian?
Um, the reason that came about because the coach at High Point, Wanda Briley, went to App, so she knew the coaches there at App. So she gave me kind of an input to get in there and, get that job as, grad assistant. So, I went up there and talked with the coaches and it worked out for me. And I ended up being grad assistant. At first it was just volleyball, softball that I was going to be grad assistant. Once I got there, I talked with the coach, the basketball coach, and she was able to let me also like help with the basketball team as well. And I also got help with being an assistant like athletic director because the head basketball coach was also the athletic director.
How was that experience like getting to work with the volleyball and softball program when you had experience in the basketball program?
As far as doing volleyball and softball, volleyball was a sport that I really loved. I wanted to learn more, and I enjoyed working with those athletes. Softball, not so much. That was just part of the job. So, that's what I did. I'm really not a softball coach and, don't really enjoy that. But that's what the job entailed. So that's what I did. And as I did that, also, grew and learned, about softball, which, like helped me when I came to Barton. Since my first 2 years here, I was also a softball coach.
What was that experience like coming to Barton and becoming the head basketball coach for Barton?
Okay. My first 2 years, I was actually volleyball, softball coach. And then my third year at Barton or into my second year, the women's coach, basketball coach resigned and went to another place. So they were able to offer me the basketball coaching position. So I was volleyball basketball coach for 19 years here, and really enjoyed it. Had good athletes, had good success. There were benefits of being a coach of both. I could bring in athletes that could play both sports. Primarily, my middle hitters and my post players were those kids that were dual athletes and could play both. So that really helped me as far as recruiting was concerned. And then after 19 years, I gave up volleyball and just became the women's basketball coach.
What was that experience like becoming the head women's basketball coach and only running the women's basketball program?
That was awesome. I also had to teach during that time as well. So, we finally phased that out and I was only the women's basketball coach. So, you could concentrate on the things you need to concentrate on as far as being, a head coach and, doing what you need to do is the paperwork, the office work, the recruiting and all the other things that, a head coach has to do. So it took some load off as far as, trying to recruit for two sports, trying to manage two sports and that kind of thing, plus teach at that time. So my plate was relatively full during that time. But when I just became head basketball coach, that was very good for me.
Of course, what was that special 2010 season like, having 26 wins and going down in the best in program history?
That was an awesome group. We had some seniors in that group that, grew along their journey. And then, by the time their senior year, they were ready to win a championship. So, they were able to do that in 2011. And we had very good years up to that point as well. We were able, to recruit a few kids that were able to help them out and, help us, get over the top and then win that championship in 2011. So that was a great group. They worked really hard and they had great attitudes and, understood what it took to win a championship and to get back there 2 years in a row, which is, very difficult.
Of course, going into that 2011 season, what was that like preparing for that championship?
It was great. The kids, like I said, were primed to win that. They had worked hard for several years. to accomplish those goals. Had very good years. Put in the work, put in the effort. Had an understanding of what they needed to do to get there, and they got there and got over the top. So that was really good to see them do that, and very exciting for them to cut the nets down and all the things that go along with the championship.
Of course, following those next 2 years, what was that like going to 3 straight NCAA tournaments?
It's hard to get there once, much less 3 years in a row. But the group that we had, again, very talented kids, put in the work to get better, and to stay on top. So, we competed every year, and did a really good job. They did a really good job, and just understood what they needed to do to get there year after year after year. So it's just great to see them compete at that level and to accomplish the goals that we had set for those seasons.
Throughout your coaching experience, what has it been like taking 10 teams to the conference championships?
To the NCAA championship, or okay, like I said, it's just a blessing to get there one year, and we've had the good fortune of getting there more often. I credit that to the athletes that we've had in the program, their hard work and their ability to achieve and understand what it takes to get there. And once we got there every year, we were able to compete with teams in the SAC and the Peach Belt, which have more scholarship money than we do. So it's difficult to get there for one thing, and then it's more difficult to be successful once you get there, just because of the competition level.
As a coach, what was that transition like from switching conferences from the Peach Belt to the Conference USA?
I don't understand what you mean.
What was that experience like switching from the Peach Belt to the Conference Carolinas?
Okay. Well, we were never in Peach Belt, but Conference Carolinas, like I said, we're in the same region as the Peach Belt and the SAC, the South Atlantic Conference, and those are two very competitive conferences. Both of them have more scholarship money than we do at the Carolinas Conference, and do things a little bit different than we do. So to compete at that level is very challenging, and it's been a credit to the people that have played here, the players that have played like here, to be able to get there and compete at that level.
How does it feel to be known as the all-time winningest coach at Barton?
It's just a blessing, and it just means that I've been here for a long time. But we've had good athletes in and come in the program, graduate, do great things after graduation, and it's all a credit to the kids that have been through the program and put in the work and the effort, to get the wins and to play hard and do the things that they needed to do to win games.
Of course, what does a typical game day look like for you as a head coach versus for your players?
For me as a coach, I'm just in preparation on game day. I've got pre-game talks to consider, thinking about opponents, watching video, anything that I can do, to help us win a game. That's what I try to do on game day. For the players, hopefully they get a good night's sleep. They eat well during the course of the day. They're, preparing themselves mentally and physically to compete at a high level, and and then they come in the gym and they get that done. So it's a little bit different for coaches and players, but bottom line, we're both preparing for a game day when it gets here.
Of course, can you talk about the culture that you've built for the Barton College program?
Culture, we want to compete. we want to take the court and we want to compete, every day at practice, every day, every game day, we want to compete. We want to bring our best effort. Every day we want to, be supportive. We want to be good teammates, and we want to help each other grow on a day-to-day basis, and just do things the right way.
What is that like, obviously getting to play some of those teams in your conference, like Mount Olive College, UMO, and also Pembroke?
Like we have some very competitive teams as far as conference play. Adding Francis Marion and Pembroke last year really strengthened our conference. I think both of them bring in very good programs, very good athletes into the conference. Belmont Abbey is always competitive. Anytime we play Mount Olive, whether we're struggling that year or not, it's always a very competitive game. And our conference is strong, very competitive, and we enjoy competing and like playing those teams that challenge us.
What is that home game atmosphere like when Mount Olive comes to home versus going to Pembroke and playing them away?
Of course, Mount Olive is, the gym's pretty much packed during that game. People are excited when you play Mount Olive because we're so close. A lot of sports recruit the same athletes as, Mount Olive does. And since they're, the closest school, it's just a very competitive atmosphere and very charged up for the most part. It's fun to play during that game. When you go to Pembroke, it's basically the same thing. They do a good job of getting people in the stands. A lot of students. They're very rowdy, at Pembroke. Most places you play, it's, a pretty competitive atmosphere, pretty good crowds, when you go and play, and pretty exciting games to be able to play in.
What does that recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college women's basketball?
To play college sports, you have to be committed to your sport, no matter what sport it is. You have to do well in the classroom. So we really express the importance of academics and basketball, if you're, or whatever sport that you go to college to play. You've got to, that needs to be your primary, responsibility, your primary focus when you get into college. First your academics, and then second your sport. So we try to emphasize that, and whatever else, things you do, make smart decisions, and do the things that's going to benefit you as a student athlete.
As a head coach, what are some of the things that you look at in those prospective student athletes when out on the road recruiting them?
You really look at everything when you go and watch a kid play. You look at their attitude, how they respond to their teammates, how they respond to their coaches, their effort out on the court, their emotional intensity, if it's a harder game, if they're having struggles, how they handle each type of situation. You really look at the overall individual, and you just really think about if that athlete will fit well into your program, and what you're looking for to bringing in a player. But you're really looking at the overall athlete, physically, mentally, socially, everything that's involved as far as an individual that you want to bring into your program.
As a head coach, what is that feeling like, seeing those freshmen put on that Barton blue jersey for the first time versus the seniors putting it on for the last time?
Freshmen, they just got to know that it's an honor and a privilege to put on any college uniform. It's not something to be taken for granted. So you really need to cherish that time that you do put on a uniform and know when you put on that uniform, it needs to be, total commitment to doing your best. When you look at a senior putting the uniform on for the last time, you think about, the things that they've gone through, the things that they've done, how they've grown throughout their 4 years, what they're stepping into, the last time they put the uniform on and take it off, what kind of things are they going to do in the future. You just kind of, it's like a reel, that goes through your head, as far as, what you're really looking at is, when a kid, takes their, here's the last buzzer of their career. So it's a happy time and a sad time, and it's a time that you look forward to.
For those seniors, what is that moment like, seeing them go on to do great things in their career, whether it's in the medical field or get into college coaching?
It's awesome. They work for 4 years, to step off that graduation stage and, step into their future, whatever it may be. Most kids that we've had graduate, in the program have gone on to be very successful in whatever career that they choose. And I'm pleased to say that, they've gotten a good education at Barton, a good experience at Barton. They're well prepared when they get out into the workplace, and they're ready to do their thing.
What are some of your future plans for the Barton program moving forward?
We want to win. We want to develop kids that, want to come in, want to have a good experience, will put in the work, and that will, have a successful career. I think to be happy with what you're doing, that, you've got to be, winning games, having fun, being a team, helping each other out, being a good teammate, being a good student athlete, and doing things that you need to be doing as far as, being a college student athlete.
What is that feeling like as a head coach to have that team go on to achieve great things throughout the seasons?
Well, you just feel like that, all the hard work that you put in, you're finally like seeing the fruit of your effort, as a coach, as, a player, every bit of energy, effort that you put into it, you finally see, what the final results are. So that is always, good to see that you've seen growth throughout the year, and that you can be successful at the end. I mean, that's really what you're working toward.
What advice would you give those high school athletes looking to become college women basketball players?
Just to concentrate academics and, concentrate on your craft and, doing everything that you can to get better, to develop your skills, to be the best player that you can be, and make the most commitment and accomplishments, into the program that you can.
What advice would you give those freshmen entering their first year of collegiate basketball?
To really come in and, really understand that you're here for academics and you're here for basketball. Everything else is kind of, on the sidebar. You want kids to have a full college experience, but you want them also to stay on track, and to be committed, put in the work, self-work in the gym, do what they can to, go to class, get their work in, be the best student that they can be. And then anything else after that, just hopefully make sure that they're making good decisions.
What advice would you give those players that are looking to go play professionally after their collegiate career?
We've had four kids go professional, as far as, overseas playing. We've had 4 over my 37 years. And my advice to them, if you're going professional, then you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work to get better. You got to understand what your strengths, what your weaknesses are. And then, if you have a workout, you have a tryout, then you've got to put your best foot forward. But, I send them every email that I get as far as, opportunities to go try out different places, to do workouts with different people. Getting a representative to present them to overseas, people, personnel, coaches, whatever. But it's a challenge to play at that level. So if they really want to do it, they really have to put in the work and the effort, and to get that done.
What advice would you give those athletes that are looking to get into college coaching after their collegiate career?
They've just got to get into all coaching, like any coaching opportunity that they might have, no matter what level. If you start with middle school, then you work your way up to high school. You go to high school, then you work your way up, to college. So it's stepping stones. It's a process, and you've got to put in the work. You've got to know a few people, get your name out there. Just do what you can to be known and to get experience, and to do what you can to make yourself go to the next level, or help yourself go to the next level.
What advice would you give those people that are looking to get into college coaching and becoming head coaches for a program?
Again, you just got to put in the work. You got to find opportunities. Sometimes they might not be paid opportunities, they might be volunteer opportunities, but you really just get your foot in the door. So you're able to put that on your resume, that you had that experience, and that you put in the work. What you need to do as assistant coach. You've had those opportunities, and you understand what it takes to be a head coach. So just put in the time, put in the effort, get your foot in the door wherever you can, and keep working at it.
Of course, for those players that are looking to go coach at their alma mater like you did, what advice would you give them?
Same thing. You put in the work. You get your name out there. You apply for every job that you can. You get interviews. You get your foot in the door at some places, and then you continue just to work your way up.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find the Barton Community College women's basketball program on social media?
You can find it on the I'm not great with social media, so we have a Twitter page as far as Barton College athletics. You can go on there and find the women's basketball program, or the women's basketball feeds. So some of my kids do that for me as far as my leadership team, so they know a little bit more about it than I do. So it's out there. You just need to find it.
Thank you again, Coach Wendee Saintsing, for your interview, and best of luck in your future as the head women's basketball coach at Barton College.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Coach Wendee Saintsing, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.